Do you remember a few months ago when the Sussexes, Harry and Meghan, had a big push to tell us that they were shaking up their staff to be more cohesive? Something similar to the royal family's teams. They're sort of a format where, it's a little bit more hierarchical and you have very organized, very dedicated staff that would ideally be staying for long term. Like we've seen with the royal family, staff usually stay for a very long time in their position. And they let us know that they were restructuring their staff and tried to spin it as this big positive thing that they were doing because at that moment, 4 top-level staff had exited. And this was earlier this year, probably just like a few months ago. But they switched to using a comms media relations service. So basically a company that handles communications and media relations for their clients. And so they were basically contracting with them. Meghan and Harry would be one of many clients that this, office or company uses. And this company that they went with, I can't remember the name. I'll link the video if I can find it that covered it in more detail, but they have a lot of high profile clients and like bigger companies and things like that they've worked with in the past. So they're experienced and stuff and well connected, but it's still a bit of a downgrade to not have your own private staff that are dedicated to just you. At the same time, as we said at the time, it makes perfect sense because the demand just isn't there for Harry and Meghan. The phone is not ringing off the hook for Harry and Meghan to come show up to things and be invited to stuff and have more interviews. No, people are sick of them and don't want to engage with them on more stuff. So they don't really need their own private dedicated staff that only focus on them. All they need is maybe a company or something to handle and field questions when it comes up. But they tried so very hard to frame that as a positive change and divert attention away from the fact that 4 more top-level staff had left. And they kept focusing on, now our staff is streamlined, when in reality, things are very different from what they're saying for quite a few reasons. Because like I said, they don't actually need that much staff, so all their staff before was a vanity thing. There's low demand for Harry and Meghan, and that does also get really expensive. So if you're not getting the opportunities to come in to kind of make up for that, then the expense of the staff is not justified. But also, they have run through 25 staffers in like just over 5 years. And well over, I think the number's at like 35 now, if you count everybody from the time that they got engaged till now, of people who have left their jobs because of Harry and Meghan or chosen to no longer stay working for Harry and Meghan, which indicates an unpleasant work environment to say the least. And when you think about it, a lot of these higher level staffs that actually make the news, or at least that we find out about, these are highly qualified people. And it takes a lot for them to leave and quit. So we can infer that Harry and Meghan's demands are very unrealistic. And the fact that they don't take advice leaves staff's reputation vulnerable. Because these higher level staff members, they don't want their reputation as a career person to take a hit just because Harry and Meghan won't listen to their advice and their strategies and do things the way that they are recommending. Because that's what would happen. So leave quick sooner rather than later. Don't hang around so long that then you get kind of mushed in with Harry and Meghan's nonsense and then your reputation professionally is damaged. But this also means that we don't know about the lower level staff, the assistants and people who are just, lower pay people that have worked around Harry and Meghan and maybe have a high turnover as well. But finally, it also provides evidence of the mean boss rumors. But also just simply not having the required leadership qualities, the direction and the vision to really make anything good happen means you can't really utilize staff members to their full potential. If you are a bad leader, like Harry and Meghan appear to be, even if you're not the meanest of leaders, it's frustrating and hard to work for people who are not very good in leadership positions that they have. And Harry and Meghan would have been in a leadership position for their team of staff. But when you look at the last 5 years, every single one of Harry and Meghan's ventures have been half-assed or failed, or both. From writing books to paid speaker gigs to trying to mingle on red carpets, embarrassing train wrecks, the mortifying display at Fashion Week, podcasting and Netflix and as ever, it's all failed or failing actively. So even though they've tried a lot, there hasn't been much accomplished. So much of what they've attempted seems like it's just for appearance's sake. There's very little real work or time being dedicated on these things. So the work ethic isn't even there. And these staffers were largely experienced. They were used to working in high demand jobs with high profile people, and they held their own and they built reputations in their career fields. So that required a great deal of work ethic. And for people who are driven like that and accomplished at their job or their career field, their areas of expertise, they don't want to be poorly utilized. They don't want to deal with an annoying, frustrating boss who refuses to do the work or take the advice or do what needs to be done. That gets really annoying really fast for people who are, higher caliber of employee or staff. People who are like that oftentimes have a hard time tolerating people like Harry and Meghan who lack the discipline or the abilities or the willingness to actually accomplish stuff or don't have good ideas. So there's nothing really good to work on. People who rise to the level of high profile staffers like assistants and communications and directors and stuff like that, they are very organized, very efficient, and able to really execute good vision, like exciting, awesome things. And when you don't have inspired ideas and tasks coming from your boss, it's hard to care enough to do a really good job and reach your potential also. Emily Robinson, who was their director of communications for just a few months, has left her role. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people are saying, because of Meghan's statement, that Emily Robinson was contracted basically for just a few projects, like basically the As Ever rollout and promotional stuff for As Ever. However, her title was Director of Communications. And by definition, a Director of Communications or a Communications Director is a senior level executive responsible for a company's overall internal and external communications strategy, including media relations, public relations, and brand messaging. They ensure all communications are consistent with the organization's brand, values, and goals, and often serve as a key spokesperson or media liaison. This role is crucial for shaping public perception, managing crises, and fostering relationships with stakeholders like the public, investors, and employees. So as you can see, Director of Communications is usually really broad. The whole point is for everything to be aligned with the strategy or brand that you're selling. And so, for example, having the Meg be like, I am doing this As Ever brand and this With Love Meghan brand. The themes are thoughtfulness and authenticity and, homey stuff, sort of a vibe of like comforting and I don't know, whatever. I would imagine would be what they say in their meetings, that it needs to be that sort of an angle. But then you have Meghan doing stuff like Fashion Week and the mental health stuff and going rogue on weird social media posts. That does not all align. So either Meghan was not behaving or didn't care to align the brand with everything and make it all streamlined, or, this director lady did the best she could and it just wasn't working out. But ideally, the celebrity and the brand would kind of be one, and everything would be cohesive and serving that purpose. You can look to people like Selena Gomez or Hailey Bieber. Or even like the Kardashians, they have very clear brand identity, very clear cohesive stuff. Like things are very, very cohesive. And that just matters for so many reasons when it comes to marketing and whatnot, because it creates a more profound and consistent image in the public's minds and potential consumers' minds. And it feels like because everything is cohesive, it's more identifiable and it sets the person and the brand farther apart. It gives it its own personality. much, much better than the way Meghan has done it, where it's chaos, where it's like, okay, which Meghan are we seeing on Instagram today? And the As Ever and the With Love Meghan stuff are all completely separate. Everything's completely separate. The red carpet stuff, the Archewell stuff, the As Ever and the With Love Meghan stuff, all in these separate corners, then none of it has a clear, strong identity and a strong push that's cohesive, that can really build something in the public's minds. And this is why I've always said Meghan should have started with just one thing. She started off right out of the gate trying to do shows, interviews and appearances and red carpet stuff, Archewell stuff, writing a terrible children's book that wasn't a children's book at all. She wanted to do the Meet Me at the Lake. She wanted to do With Love Meghan. She wants to do business now. She's doing podcasting, all these different things. There's no way any of it will get a strong brand when you're doing 20 million different things at once. Every single celebrity brand or like famous person brand, which is the easiest to compare to because Meghan is a known figure. She's a public figure. Saying she's famous, maybe infamous would be a better word. But regardless, then a celebrity or somebody like that launching a product line, you do not see the successful ones try to launch multiple things at once and do multiple careers at once. You don't. I mean, like Selena Gomez has music, of course, and acting at the same time of doing a product launch, sure. But she was doing music and acting for years before she did the makeup. Hailey Bieber, I don't know that she did very much like work. She didn't really have a super strong career, I don't think, before she did Rhode, skincare and makeup, I think. Rihanna, very well-established artist before she started doing Fenty. So you don't see them at the same time as trying to launch Rare Beauty or whatever it is, trying to do that and also launch a brand new podcast and a book and a different show concept than they've ever done before. You don't see people do that because it's too much at once, but also then you don't get to develop a strong brand identity that way. So it's been Meghan's mistake from the start. But anyway, it says here, Meghan tried to frame this that Miss Robinson oversaw project-based work for a very successful season of With Love Meghan and additional support for the production company. She did an excellent job and completed these projects with great success. She wouldn't be called communications director. She would have a project-based title, or even be like a project manager or something of that nature. But a friend close to Miss Robinson allegedly said that things must have been pretty bad for her to quit because she's not a quitter. Now, of course, there is the angle that maybe Miss Robinson was brought in just to oversee the With Love Meghan project, mainly, allegedly, and her projects or contracts were completed. And Meghan was just gave her that title because she couldn't think of anything better to call it. She's like, I want you to come in and be communications director for this With Love Meghan stuff. But if that were the case, then that means that she already diverted from the strategy she announced to the world before. Because remember, months ago, she said, we are streamlining our staff and we're just going to have like one main communications director for everything that we have on our plate. Across Archewell and Netflix and all of our projects are going to have one chief communication officer to oversee everything and make sure it's all cohesive. Like, because that's what a communications director is for. So if she hired Miss Robinson to be the subset for just the With Love Meghan stuff, then she's already not following the plan that she said she did earlier. But I don't think that's what actually happened. What I think actually happened is that Miss Robinson was brought on to lead the communications and PR stuff for With Love Meghan and their media stuff and things like that. But now, With Love Meghan is over. I think that now Meghan knows that there will be no season 3. Netflix doesn't want any more of it. And so what I think this actually means is that since With Love Meghan is actually over and Netflix has actually made it clear to Meghan that they do not want any more episodes, the Christmas special is grandfathered in. That was previously filmed and previously on the schedule and part of their old contract. It is not a new project. That because of that, there is now no need for Miss Robinson to stay on staff because Meghan has basically lost With Love Meghan and therefore does not need anybody paying attention to With Love Meghan communications because there is no more of it. It is kind of peculiar that she's exiting before the holiday special even airs, but maybe she did all the work and it's all scheduled and ready to just send, and posts are just going to automatically pop up. Who knows? But her position has been dissolved because Meghan lost her Netflix series and deal. It could also mean that Miss Robinson declined to be moved to a different sort of a project. She was like, I don't want to do any more work with you. So now that this is done, I'm done. I'm not going to move over to do like Archewell stuff or whatever other crazed ideas Meghan has going through her mind. So this comes on the heels of more bad publicity for Meghan in general. She showed her kids' faces on social media for a moment. This woman has no shame. Only to delete it a few hours later. After lecturing everybody about safety and using privacy as one of her main excuses for leaving the UK and the royal family, she's just flaunted it. It feels like she's just seeing what she can get away with, it feels like sometimes, because this is crazy. She also put more products available on the As Ever website, all of which are increasing dramatically in price, but certainly not quality, and none of it is selling. I am not seeing people buy this stuff. I'm not seeing anything about it online. People are not reviewing it anymore. Nobody cares. It's not selling. There is no way. She also, this week, was once again ranked the most loathed public figure. Meghan is at number 1. P. Diddy is at number 2, and Harry is at number 3. No wonder they were booed at the Dodgers game. All of this goes way beyond staff leaving and projects failing or products flopping. It's Meghan and Harry having a chronic problem with lack of awareness, an inability or an unwillingness to read the room and see that they are on the wrong path, that they are not wanted, and trying to force themselves on the public will never work. It always results in them being disliked and booed and everything falling apart. But leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for joining me for today's video. I hope you have a happy day ahead, and I will see you next time. Bye!